So CashNasty is a YouTuber who started off playing NBA 2K. Heck, he went by the name whatchamacallin. This was one of the best players in 2K years ago. This guy pioneered the 1-3-1 zone. This guy pioneered off-ball defense. This guy was seen as the best player in the community in NBA 2K14. But CashNasty is back playing my team right now, and this is what his team is. Not a bad team. Not a bad team at all. And unlike Flight, he has not spent $31,000 on this team. However, in this video, we are going to be fixing CashNasty's team, and we are going to be turning what is pretty much a God Squad into a most definite God Squad. So here is the squad. This is the squad that whatchamacallin is using. And I'm guessing Kristaps is playing in the middle of that 1-3-1 zone. But this is the team. So KP is unauctionable. Julius Irving's unauctionable. Luka's unauctionable. He is level, I can't see. But he's got Penny Hardaway, Larry Bird, Dikembe Mutombo, Willis Reed, Paolo Banchero, an auctionable Mark Eaton, Paul George, Devin Booker. Okay, with only 500,000 MT left. It is not ideal. That is absolutely not ideal. However, I've seen him, he's pulled like a bowl or something earlier in this. But I'm guessing he went to the auction house and pulled LeBron James and got 100 overall LeBron, which, fair enough. This is cash. This is LeBron James. So we're going to go and build to fix his team. So his team is a lot better than Flight's, in fairness. His team is a lot better than Flight. So 100 overall LeBron is staying in there no matter what. Under no circumstances is 100 overall LeBron going anywhere. But if we're talking about purely auctionable players, this is one of those things where it's like, I don't know. He's not... The easiest option, if we're talking about making a better team, is, say, grind out the challenges. If he can... this is cheaper. It's realistically cheaper to pay somebody to grind these challenges. They're only about 3 hours each. And if somebody grinds out every one of these challenges and you get the locker code and they grind out these, it's about 4 or 5 hours worth of playing. What, you can pay someone $10 an hour for $50 if he doesn't want to do the grind. And, I mean, I don't know if it's not against Toss, but Ralph Sampson, it doesn't cost a hell of a lot of money to get Ralph Sampson. And if he's been opening packs, he might have the piece for Ralph Sampson anyway. But those challenges make Ralph Sampson super, super attainable unless you're like me, where you just have spent some of the pieces already and you don't open packs. Ralph Sampson is super attainable, and he's way better than Kristaps. And I mean this when I say this, you can then sell Kristaps Porzingis, and his 100 overall card is, what, like the guts of 750k MT, maybe closer to $1 million. And at this stage of the year, look, we are... Invincible Brook Lopez is coming out in 2 days for free. So, like, I think 100 overall Kristaps is going to tank in price. So I think that's probably the smartest decision, is get rid of Kristaps. And even the Ralph Sampson will never be outdated. He'll never be outdated. So I'm not going to really go get too bogged down on that. But getting rid of Kristaps, and if you can manage to find a way to get Ralph Sampson into your team, then you're absolutely sorted. So I'm actually okay with Wembanyama, Galaxy Opal. I think it just costs a lot to upgrade him. The 100 overall is 4 or 5 million. And I just don't necessarily think that it's worth getting right now. I think there's going to be... I don't know how much better he is than a Rick Smits. I don't know how much better he is than Mark Eaton. He is quite a lot better, but like you can guard those guys with the likes of Mark Eaton as well. And they could be fantastic players. So he's got Mark Eaton in his team, but I still think the Kembe and the Mark Eaton combo is... absolutely ideal. I'm not going to touch that combo because for the MT wise, you're looking at 250-ish KMT for Mark Eaton, and then Dikembe is unauctionable, so he's free. So off the bench, he's got Dikembe Mutombo already in his team. His team is actually really nice. The one thing I will look at is Rick Smits maybe, who I do think is a better player than Mark Eaton. And Rick Smits' price is about 500k. Rick Smits is better than Eaton. Artis Gilmore is a little bit worse than Eaton, but he is cheaper, I guess. He's 7'2" and not 7'4". But if you can get yourself Rick Smits is the better option other than Mark Eaton. He's about 500,000 MT. And Mark Eaton's about 300k, so it's going to cost about an extra 200k. Again, do I think this is a smart decision to make today? If you're going into Season 8, I would probably start to look a little bit into Season 8 and maybe consider Brook Lopez, seeing what level he's going to be at coming into next season. But right now, if we're to fix the team today, Rick Smits is the perfect player. And we also need to know what happens with the draft, because Roko Zakarski could be coming out. And he's like a 7'4" giant. So this is what we have so far. It's very, very similar. So we basically said get rid of Kristaps and find a way of getting those 3 hours worth of challenges done at some stage. Someone else can do that in the account, if not him. But oh, Porzingis is unauctionable. Oh, that changes things. I did not realize Porzingis was unauctionable. All right, Rick Smits, you're getting out of there. Rick Smits, you're getting out of there. And Porzingis, you are coming in off the bench. Porzingis is coming in off the bench. So yeah, Ralph Sampson. Just find a way to get Sampson anyway. Find a way to get Sampson. So Porzingis is going to be off the bench right here, because he is unauctionable, and we're not getting rid of a card as good as an auctionable Porzingis. Dr. J is unauctionable, and obviously GOAT Dr. J is coming out in not too long, and he's going to have GOAT Dr. J very soon. And because, again, we are looking at this, we are literally 2 days away from Season 8. Julius Erving is point guard. So this Dr. J, we might as well pretend that this Invincible Dr. J is the GOAT Dr. J that's going to be the level 40 card. So this Dr. J may as well not exist. The GOAT Dr. J is going to be your point guard. We don't know how good any other cards in the season are going to be, but we know for a fact that GOAT Dr. J is going to be running his point. And then it's just finding the shooting guard. Moving Larry Bird up might be the move, you know? Like, is moving Larry Bird up a smart move? I think it probably is, if we're being honest. I think it probably is. I think Larry Bird could be a very, very good player in this game. And again, he's unauctionable, so I don't think there's any real small forward or like shooting guards you can get. They're that big of an upgrade on Larry Bird. So for now, anyway, Dr. J is going to be in the team. And I'm going to assume you're going to play, say, Dr. J and Larry there, like he actually has. But if we're just assuming that Dr. J is going to be the GOAT card in a couple of days, we can put GOAT Dr. J right here. And realistically, coming off the bench, Penny, who he has, is worth keeping. And again, he's unauctionable. So they can't, outside of LeBron, it doesn't seem like anyone is auctionable here. So, like, some of these cards are good. There's not a crazy amount of MT, for being honest, other than Mark Eaton. And I do straight up think just getting rid of Mark Eaton, finding a way to get Ralph Sampson and getting rid of Mark Eaton, that's an extra 250k, leaves them with about 700k to spend. And so we've now got the point guard on a shoot. So basically, it's just on a shooting guard, and it's on a small forward. And if we're being honest, Paul George could do the job, but I don't think Paul George is the greatest player in the world. I think he's fine. He does the job. He's fine. Luka can come off the bench, and honestly, Luka can come in over Penny. And Devin Booker, don't really see the appeal. I don't see the appeal in Paolo Banchero, so I would just take those out of the team. So now we got to look at a shooting guard that you can get for a somewhat reasonable price. Nothing too expensive, nothing too cheap. We're looking at the shooting guard position. And for me, like, a Sean Marion is a not bad pickup. He is a not bad pickup. For the NBA draft picks, I think Cassie Russell can do a job, but maybe not at the shooting guard position. And, like, can't really move anyone down if Dr. J is in there. So we're trying to just find, like, I think Chris Middleton's a really good card, but I don't think he's quite good enough to be this level of player. So if we're looking at 100 overall shooting guards here, I just don't think there are players really to use. Like, Tracy McGrady is not a bad option. Kazi's more of a point guard. I don't mind Ingram. I don't think Jordan's great, if we're being honest. Even Elgin Baylor is not a great card. There's just a very much lack of elite shooting guards at that position. And again, I think it's probably not the time to really splurge on MT or splurge on cards. So, like, if we're looking at even Dark Matters that can play the shooting guard position, there's a lot of good ones. I think Amen Thompson might be the move. I genuinely, I think of all of these players, Amen Thompson might actually be the best. I don't like a lot of these cards. I think Amen Thompson, if you're going to go out of your way and get rid of Paul George or not use Paul George, Amen might be the move. But yeah, like Beasley at small forward could be a shout and move Paul George down. Even Steven Jackson's a pretty good card. There's a lot of good cards in this game. Not a lot of them play the shooting guard position. Like Trey Murphy's okay. There's a lot of cards that I think are just okay at that position. And like even from the draft picks, they all play the small forward position, and like Wiggins isn't great. So honestly, just for now, move Paul George in and wait till we see if something good comes out next season. So now it's like a starting small forward and just two kind of players at the end. One ideally can play the 2. One's a 2-3. and one is a kind of 3-4, because there's a lot of 5s here. And then obviously there's a 4. So first of all, Luka's there, Penny's there. You don't really need a 1. So realistically, a 2-3. And it is a pity that he doesn't have one of Cedric Maxwell or Richard Jefferson, because I would suggest either of these guys if he had them. I don't think he does anyway. In 20k on a Steven Jackson, like, if he's not going to sit on the end of the bench, like, he's fine. He's fine. Like, he's better than 100 overall Devin Booker, realistically, just on the end of the bench. And then at that small forward position, you have to go with what is a top 3 or 4 small forward in the game, and it's Purvis Ellison. I don't care. I don't care what people want to say about Purvis Ellison. He's probably top 3 to 4 in the game at his position. No question about that. Like, Purvis Ellison, outside of like 100 overall LeBron, obviously there's like 100 overall Giannis, but he can't even play small forward. I've come up against so many God squads with Purvis Ellison. There are so many guys that will have 2 GOAT cards in their starting 5, Wemby's, invincible Yaos, well, sorry, 100 overall Yaos, invincible Wemby's, and in small forward is Purvis Ellison. Biggest player build in the game. Don't know why. Genuinely don't know why Purvis Ellison is as good as he is. But like, I cannot, in good faith, not suggest Purvis Ellison. No matter who, no matter what level you are at, Purvis Ellison should be in your team. Either your starter or on your bench. He should be in your team no matter what. There's no excuses for not having Purvis Ellison in your team. Everyone can afford him. He is like just one of the most cracked budget players I think we've ever seen in my team. So last up, the last player is not really going to play, to be honest. And who does Cash have actually in his team? Like, Paolo Banchero, in my opinion, he does the job. I would wait for the next season. I think Willis Reed is just outclassed at this stage of the year. Paolo Banchero does a job. But even though Paolo Banchero does a job, Paolo Banchero is not as good as, well, if you want a big, he's not as good as Doherty. He's definitely not as good as Oliver Candy, but he's not as good as Joe Smith. Joe Smith's fantastic. He is almost as good as Purvis Ellison. And like, I thought Joe Smith had a good player build. Purvis Ellison's just way better. Like, these cards, these number 1 draft pick cards are stupid good. They are stupidly good. I actually think this team is a lot closer to being a good team. Flights needed an entire teardown. We needed to completely tear down Flights, and we had to build it from scratch. We had to completely tear it down. However, with Cash's team, it was all like, Cash's team is good. Cash's team is good. I think building this for a few days where Dr. J GOAT can play point guard. If he can find a way to get Ralph Sampson, he'll never need to touch that position for the rest of the year. He just doesn't have to worry about it. Wemby's still Wemby. Just having a Wemby in your team is more than enough. And then obviously you've got some guys like Joe Smith. Again, it's just that shooting guard small forward position. There's not that many good ones. Even if you're going on opals. On my personal team, I've used the Richard Jeffersons in there and Cedric Maxwell. They both play the shooting guard for me. Paul George is not in my team. Paul George comes in for Wiggins here. I have Tyrese Thomas, who I think is basically the same as Purvis Ellison. And then obviously I got Shea at the point, and I don't think he's got Shea at the point. But like, there's a lot of guys that are just kind of okay, and I think Paul George is okay. I think Larry's okay. If he had Cedi Maxwell, I'd choose Cedi Maxwell. But otherwise, I think this team is slightly better without breaking the bank for MT if he gets Ralph Sampson. But Cash's team's pretty damn good. Unlike Flights, Cash's team is actually pretty good. And there's a reason. There's a reason that people used to fear the name whatchamacalling when they saw it come up on screen.